Well, this is my very dirty and crowded shop. You can see it's full of tools, equipment, supplies, and so forth. It's my workbench. There's a basket that I just cut. Here's one of my scroll saws. Many people ask me what kind of saws I use, and I have a number of them. This is an RBI Hawk, American made, very good professional scroll saw. I use it almost exclusively for cutting Christmas ornaments. And you can see covered with dust right now because I haven't used it in about a month. Here's some of the patterns for the Christmas ornaments. This is a 4-colored snowman. I cut out the outline. I have the pieces there. I trade them, glue them back together again, and they will give you four woods in 4 different combinations. I've got a number of other patterns down there and so on. Because I've been making baskets for about the last month, I haven't cut any Christmas ornaments. But I'll spend a month cutting Christmas ornaments, and I might cut 400 or 500 at that time. Now, over here is a small band saw, tabletop model that I use to make some of the parts that go into the baskets and some other things. And there's a pile of tree patterns ready to cut. The pattern is put on some blue painter's tape, which is put on the wood. This is lignum vitae, and you can see this is its natural color, green. I use the painter's tape because I use spray adhesive to put the pattern on, and if I put it directly on the wood, it'll take me a long time to scrape it off. With the painter's tape, I can just pull it right off. And here is one of my newest product. These are some cutting boards. And the reason why I'm starting to make some cutting boards is because I have so much scrap wood that I really don't have enough room to store it all. So these are pieces of excess that I've cut cutting boards out of, and you can see there's quite a pile there. They're about halfway through being completed, and hopefully before the next show I'll have the cutting boards ready. There's boxes full of tree patterns ready to cut, also various parts for trees, for small puzzles, a number of other things. And here is a belt sander and a spindle sander that are used for finishing. And here is my full-size main band saw. This is a Delta, and it has a 105-inch blade on it. And this is what I cut the large puzzles and the baskets on. And you can see the table is put at an angle. That's set up for the baskets. In fact, there's a stack right there ready to cut. And there's some over here on the sander that have been cut, and they're ready now to start sanding them. First thing I have to do is sand the edge on the spindle sander, and then afterwards they go over onto this work table, and they're then sanded on the top and the bottom. Let's turn on some lights over here, make it easier to see. So these are ready to do the final finish sanding, and then after that I have to put the base on the bottom, and then they have to be oiled. And here's some medium baskets that are ready to be sanded, and then here's a big stack of other baskets ready to go. So these are the things that I've been working on for about the last month. And then here is some of the stock of wood that I use for various things. Most of this wood piled up right here in front is for trees. And then there's some other stuff, like this is some really nice figured cherry. And then behind it is some bird's eye maple with a really gorgeous figure. And then just shelves full of wood. That's all thin wood for making Christmas ornaments. And then down here are sort of scraps that are left over that are too big to throw away, but I'll have to find a use for it from time to time. And a lot of pieces of scrap. You can see all this scrap here. This is the reason why I've started cutting the cutting boards, because I have so much of this stuff. I'm running out of room. And then there's some more wood back in the back there. And I actually have wood in several other locations. Now, up front here is another scroll saw. This is a Hegner scroll saw. It's a German-made machine. This one was built in 1997, and I bought it used. People frequently will ask me what the Hegner scroll saws are like. I tell them it's like driving a vintage Mercedes, 1950 Mercedes. Very well engineered, very well built, but it probably doesn't have a lot of the modern luxuries. Probably doesn't have air conditioning, power steering, power windows, and so forth. It's probably got an AM radio. So the Hegner hasn't changed its basic design in about 25 or 30 years, but they're very well made. They will virtually last almost forever. However, they don't have a lot of the features that most modern professional grade scroll saws have. In fact, a lot of these things that are on here, like this dust blower, dust collector, the blade holder and so forth, these are all aftermarket things that I've put on that didn't come with the original design, but they're more modern, and therefore they make it easier to use, make it better to use. This is the type of dust blower that you have on virtually every machine that's made, even the inexpensive ones. But up until a couple of years ago, Hegner had a single dust port, which was this thing right here, and it depended on how high you had your stool was, where you sat. If your stool wasn't that high, it blew the dust right into your chest. If you had a real tall stool, like I have here, then it would just blow it into your waist, into your lap. And there was no way to adjust it at all. So this is an aftermarket blower that I can now use it to blow the dust away from me. Hegner came out with a add-on to the model that they were selling that is the same model, basically, about 3 or 4 years ago. Meanwhile, all the other manufacturers have had dust blowers like this for 20 years. And there's some more wood supplies, some of the thin woods for Christmas ornaments, and so forth.